tweeted Erdogan in Turkey, who's a Turkey, hashtag hostage, by the way. He's asking for the release of Pastor Brunson. And so we're going to follow that story very, very closely. Also, the president is going to be in Kansas City tonight for the 119th VFW National Convention. 4,000 plus vets are expected to attend. And that's going to be a great experience. You'll be able to see that streaming on YouTube. And also, I would check out the action on Fox News as well. That's going to be coming up tonight. The president knows how to fire up the troops and paying tribute to our veterans. Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about a lot on this show. Our veterans and how they are not treated properly and how we need to improve the VA. So those are things we're going to be hitting on in the future. But tonight the president will be addressing veterans. Going to be a very friendly crowd for him. Keith X. Ellison, the extreme Muslim, is a congressman from Minnesota. And he thinks open borders are prejudice. He wants open borders so that fellow Muslims can come in and bring people from the South. And so if ever there's a need for voter ID, it is now. Russian interference, you want to stop it? How about voter ID? Just playing. It's not going to stop the Ruskies, but it sounds nice. So how about we get into voter ID? I don't understand why it's such a big problem. Why people are so upset about having to show their ID to vote. I mean, I have to show my ID to, if I choose to go in and buy a beer. I have to show my ID to a police officer when I'm pulled over. I have to show my ID to the grocery store if I happen to write a check. I don't know what the big problem is. It's not difficult to get an ID. In fact, it's very inexpensive. So what's the problem? There's not a problem. It's just the left is making it a problem. How about a picture ID when you go to the polls to vote? Does anybody disagree with me? You know, let's interact on Facebook. Seriously. Trump is warning that Putin, by the way, could be the worst enemy ever. John Bolton has invited Putin to Washington, D.C., and from what I understand, he has accepted. And so we will see Vladimir Putin, Vlad, coming to Washington, D.C. We better be making sure he doesn't plant some bugs in the White House, Mr. President. But the guy that's in charge of the Ruskies coming to Washington, D.C., I still say it's better to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And so having Putin interacting with President Trump, I think, is a pretty good idea. Don't you? And speaking of voter laws, now in San Francisco, they are passing the city council. They're wanting to allow non-citizens to vote in school board elections. Just the beginning, folks. First school board elections, then what? And how is it you're able to vote in a certain election but not another? Doesn't make sense to me. But then nothing the left does ever makes sense to me. I don't get it. How? So you have a card that says I can vote in a school board election but nothing else? I mean, we're already having issues with the left not liking voter ID. So I don't get it. What's the big deal? How do you feel about that? Interact with us live on Facebook right now. The Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite website, our Facebook page, and also my Facebook page. And you can interact with me as of right now. In fact, I need to bring my page up so I can see your comments, and we'll do that coming up during the break. Now, I want to talk about Big 12 Media Days. And getting ready for football. Can you tell I am ready? Boomer! Okay? And pistols misfiring. Blanks. Well, at least we don't have to worry about Pistol Pete getting anybody pregnant. He fires blanks.
Welcome to Big 12 Media Days. Barry Trammell along here with Mike Gundy for your 14th Big 12 Media Days. Earlier you told us how excited you were. Any more so than ever, or you just always like football season?
Well, I think it's about the same. Once you do it a long time, the things that I'm excited about, like what I mentioned after spring, looking forward to seeing what kind of play we're going to get at the quarterback position. I'm excited about our defense. I like Coach Knowles, what we're doing. I mean, I honestly don't have a clue how it's all going to look, but I'm looking forward to it. And then seeing the guys that need to make a difference, the new safeties, and then in particular the wide receiver group. We all know about McCleskey and Stoner and Tyron, but that second wave that's important to us, because we have to play 6 or 7 guys. See how those guys react, see how they work out early in the year.
it's one of the more interesting quarterback situations in that you got a fifth-year senior ready to contend for the job. You also got a ballyhooed incoming freshman, got here in June, got a transfer scheduled to come in after today. So you got different levels of experience and knowledge about these guys. It's sort of a wide open landscape.
Well, and it's foreign to us. We've not been in this situation in that we've had veteran players that haven't played, like Taylor, but then behind him, we don't have anybody that's played. So it's very unusual. When we start in August, Taylor will get the reps. I mean, he's the guy. He's earned that. We feel good about him. But then you have those 2 or 3 guys in the back or below him that have to get quality work and find out what they know. You know, we've heard a lot about Spencer, and everybody thinks he's got a great future. We've never seen him. He's been doing great in the summer is what they tell me. So we'll see. And then you have transfers. We've got guys coming in that's thrown for 5,000 yards at this level, but we don't know anything about him other than seems to be a great kid that wants to be a big-time college football player. And then you have the guys that are already in the program, like Wood Team, that we do know something about. So it is rare. Hopefully we can figure it out in 3 or 4 weeks.
Is it the kind of thing you hope it is settled by September? Could this go into the autumn?
Well, it could, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it. You know, other than when we had J.W. Walsh and we had a reason because he brought too much to the table and he was really good in his environment. I just haven't been real excited about 2 quarterbacks. It's how do you create the continuity, the stability, who's the leader? I'm not a big fan of it. Maybe it'll have to be that way, but boy, you sure would like for it to be the other.
It'll be a fun August. Yeah. Stay tuned for further OSU coverage here on News OK.
Pistols misfiring and Mike Gundy still got that mullet. Mike Holder, the athletic director, says Gundy needs to do a better job of recruiting. Oh, no, don't, Mike. Keep recruiting crap. Sooners love that. You'll always be the little brother. The wannabes. I just had to, in fact, I feel a little nauseous right now looking at Mike Gundy for so long. Threw up in my mouth a little bit. But I'm ready for some football. It's almost football time in Oklahoma, and we're excited about that. And whether you be a Cowboy fan, which Moto is, that's why we had so much Mike Gundy. He says it's because he didn't have any really good Lincoln Riley video. Moto, come on. You know I'm not that gullible. Anyway, we'll have Lincoln Riley. We'll give us equal time here. So I'm real excited because we've got breaking news, and this is something you're not getting on any media outlet. No place, not radio, not TV, but Majority Floor Leader John Echols is here. And we're going to be talking about State Question 788 and the job of the state legislature. That's going to be coming up after this break. I'm Tod Tucker. The truth lives here. It lives with you. It lives with me. And we'll be right back. Tod Tucker here with Majority Floor Leader John Echols. John, first time on video together. We've been on the radio plenty of times. That's right. And we got breaking news coming up here in a few minutes. But let's talk about first things first. We're wanted to talk about the Oklahoma tax receipts and State Question 788.
Yeah, well, the tax receipts. So kind of one at a time, the tax receipts are great news. So we are now looking at well over 12 months of increased tax collections for the months before. What's happened, really, the economy in the state of Oklahoma has picked up in a massive way. Oklahoma unemployment is functionally zero. I mean, the unemployment rates are the lowest it's been. And Oklahoma's always had low unemployment rates, but especially in Oklahoma City now. I got to tell you, it's a good time for the state, despite some of the doom and gloom that we constantly hear all the time. The economy has bounced back in this state, and it's bounced back strong. It's good news.
Well, you know, Oklahoma's traditionally last to feel the effects of a recession and then the last to feel the benefits of when we recover from a recession. And so we're starting to feel that now.
Yeah, economically, you're so right. And, man, as I talk to small business owners throughout the state, really, and especially in my area, you're hearing people that are talking about reinvesting. They're talking about how better the economy is. They're talking about, people able to find jobs. As a matter of fact, now we have a great problem to have. I hear employers all the time saying they're having a hard time finding people to fill the jobs that they have. That's great. What that means is people have work. That means people are working. It's a good time in the state of Oklahoma, I think. And as we keep having this uptick in collections, that's really going to be good we got some things we need to fix in next year's legislature, and that uptick in collections it's going to go a long way.
How do you feel about that as we go into next year with the new governor, regardless of who he is?
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch this gubernatorial election. What I tell Republicans is you can't sleep on Drew Edmondson. There's been an Edmondson on the ballot longer than I've been alive. This is a family. His dad was a United States senator.
Right.
This is an old school Oklahoma family, and then you have really the established. One guy that's going to run, I was effective mayor, therefore I'm the established guy, and you got another guy that's going to run that I'm the complete outsider. I'm the one that's run a small business. I'm the one that knows what I'm doing, and it's good on the Republican side. I was telling this to somebody the other day. I have no idea who's going to come out of that race. I don't have a feel for it. I don't have a feel for what's going to happen. What I do have a feel for everybody listening, go out and vote in the runoff, because it is very important. Every statewide office on the Republican side of the ticket is in a runoff, except for Glenn Mulready and for insurance commissioner. Other than that, so we got to go vote. It's going to be a big deal. And then Republicans are going to have to gear up for a serious contender in Drew Edmondson.
Yeah, he's not to be taken lightly at all. And the Attorney General's race is something that I'm watching very closely. I think Mike Hunter's off to a great start, and a lot of people have tried to discount him because he was appointed by Governor Fallon, and as you know, she's not really popular right now. And I don't think that, every now and then you get something right, and for those who want to hold that against Mike Hunter, I don't think that's fair, because Mike has come in. I think he's cleaning up a mess that was left by Scott Pruitt, frankly. Scott Pruitt didn't just all of a sudden become Scott Pruitt in Washington. I think this has been going on for some time. And Mike Hunter's been in there trying to clean these things up and clean up the corruption. People are really tired of corruption in Oklahoma politics, and we've got a long history of it. So, let's elaborate on that some.
Well, I served in the legislature last year where I ended up not having a senator in either. I had two senators, both of which had to leave office in some form of disgrace in my House district. I jokingly said, but it wasn't really a joke, I didn't like going to church some Sundays because some stupid legislator would do something idiotic and I would have to really go defend myself. And what I mean by that is, we should all carry ourselves properly. We should all act properly as a believer. For me, we need to treat people the right way. But at the same time, when you're a legislator, you're in the spotlight. More is expected of you. I've told people that. More is expected of me. And that's fair. That's the way it should be. And we had a bunch of members last year that didn't live up to that. Didn't live up to that high expectation. But here's what I can tell the citizens that I hope they'll feel better about. I think it is better, instead of judging people, Mike Hunter, based upon who appointed him, or the Senate based upon the actions of Ralph Shorty, or the House based upon the actions of Dan Kirby. I think each individual member stands and falls on their own merits. And when you look at a guy like, full circle, a guy like Mike Hunter, Mike has cleaned up that office, and Mike's done a good job. We were talking off the air, so I want to say this on the air. One of the things I respect about Mike Hunter is, as floor leader, I go to him all the time. Everybody knows about the big issues, 788, but I'll go to him on small issues and say, Mr. AG, what do you think we should do? And what I love about Mike is he always tells me what he thinks the law is, not what he thinks I want to hear. We don't agree on everything, but I never doubt for 1 second that Mike's doing his best to follow the law.
Mike and I have hung out. We've had coffee together. He's an upstanding guy. He has great ideas, great vision for the Attorney General's office. And he's even got a Consumer Affairs division. And Bobby Cleveland was on, Representative Cleveland, yesterday. And Representative Cleveland, through AG Hunter, helped a consumer get a washing machine because they were having a problem with Whirlpool. And so Bobby went to work and got with the Attorney General on the Consumer Affairs. These people got a brand new washing machine, an upgrade, and a 3-year warranty. So being a legislator isn't all about the things that you hear about in the news every day. If you're truly a legislator, you're working for all the people, Republicans and Democrats, and you're working on things that sometimes don't have to do with legislation.
Yesterday, so I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, here's how I spent my day. I spent the first 2 hours of the day in Mayor Holt's office with two constituents.
Great friend of mine, by the way.
And a great guy, with two constituents, Robert Everman, Mannix Barnes, one a Republican, one a Democrat, with Representative George Young, a Democrat, and we were there talking about the lupus walk and the war against lupus and what I could do to help the Lupus Foundation. So we jokingly said, we literally had a nonpartisan mayor, a Republican and a Democrat, and then a Republican and a Democrat on both sides, trying to make the people's lives better. And I ended the day with a 4-hour meeting with a teacher group in my district, just talking to them. And I had Republicans, I had Democrats, and just they're answering questions. I mean, it was a teacher group that called me in and said, hey, we want to talk to you. We want to know what's going on. That's the part about being a legislator that I love. Like that's why I do it, because at the end of the day, you know, you can make the state better, you can make individuals' lives better. I mean, just little stuff. Bobby Cleveland, I'll brag on Bobby for a second, because Bobby, I know you listening, and I know you love to hear people brag on you. So we'll go ahead and take that.
He's very humble. What are you talking about?
He is. Bobby is one of the hardest working legislators out there.
He is.
Bobby had a constituent, Bobby had a friend who was my constituent, who had an issue with the insurance commissioner. We eventually got it fixed with Commissioner Doak. Bobby is so tenacious, he would go to my meetings with my constituent that was his friend to make sure the issue was handled. And I call that navigating state government. And I wish it didn't have to be that way, but that's a lot of what we do.
And a lot of people don't understand, you can go to your representative and talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I had an issue with getting off of Obamacare. It was like getting out of communist China.
Yeah.
And I called Steve Russell's office, and I had been working on this by myself for months and just couldn't get it resolved. Called Congressman Russell's office, and within 3 days, bam, it was taken care of because he had the people working for him that were able to get it done. So there are a lot of great things that legislators do that people don't really hear about. So that's why we have this forum, so you can come in and we can brag on you and point out the great things, because it's very easy to report on the Ralph Shortys and the Dan Kirbys and corruption, and it's another thing to come on and say, you know what, there's good news too.
Yeah.
And we've got to talk about the good news, because we're so overwhelmed every day with negativity, and coming from the left especially. Now, with State Question 788, I want to talk about the Board of Health if we could. 788 was voted on by the people.
Yes.
Regardless of how the petition was written, that's what the people, just like with 780 and 781, people say, well, you didn't know what you voted for. Well, the state question was clear. It's not the people's fault. And so they voted for 788, and now the state's coming in and they're trying to go against the will of the people, so to speak. I understand there need to be some adjustments made to 788 to make it compliant and to make it to where doctors are comfortable with it. But let's just chat about 788. Where do you stand on that? What's going on? What's the future of 788?
So I always start off with this. I want to make this crystal clear. My position on 788 is to do what the people said. Accomplish the will of the people. My baseline on 788 is the language of 788, not what the Department of Health did. It is what the people voted for, and I can think of nothing more offensive than to say to the people that you don't know what you voted for. I mean, you don't know, and for a politician to say that, it's even more offensive. You know, if you're elected, that means they voted for you. So to look at them and say you don't know what they're voting for.
You're not very educated when you vote. Well,
what's that say about? I always joke about somebody who trashes their spouse. That says a lot more about you than the spouse. You picked them. So that's a lesson from my mom. But
I heard the same thing from my mom.
That's right. So so here's what's going to happen on 788, and I want to be more blunt. What the Department of Health did was an abomination. I mean, what they did was, and remember, I was one of the guys that didn't originally call for a special session. because I wanted to follow the will of the people. What the people said in the language of 788 is the Department of Health will make up regulations. That's what it said. So I didn't want the legislature to go in and monkey around with 788. I've gotten beat up for not wanting a special session right away at one point, but it's true, I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because the will of the people needed to be done. Now, that was the Department of Health. Now, what happened, though, is the Department of Health passed not just these last-minute regulations. Absolutely, these last-minute regulations were ridiculous. There was no public comment. There was no time for the public to know what's going on. They got to go. But there were a whole lot of other regulations that the health department did. I mean, one of them that nobody's talking about, the Department of Health is requiring every female of childbearing age to have a pregnancy test before they can get a medical marijuana card. Now, if you talk about somebody like me that's anti-mandatory vaccine, I certainly can't support, I mean, I can't, this is crazy. This is the stuff people aren't talking about, that when we go in and the speakers announced, and that was kind of the breaking news, the speakers announced a bipartisan, bicameral working group. I asked the speaker to make me the House chairman, and he did. And I worked with Chairman McCourtney.
Congratulations. Well,
thank you. Or condolences.
Right.
Both. But that's my way of making sure the will of the people is done. That we're going to get on this train. And yes, do we need a good medical system? Absolutely. And is there room for common sense regulations? Yes, absolutely. We can fit in. How are you going to transport it? How are you going to get the initial seeds? All of those are where the legislature should step in. What the legislature should not do is go in and change the fundamentals of 788.
Right.
And where the Department of Health did it, the legislature needs to step up and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to change it.
Well, that's a big problem going through the health issues that I did recently is the insurance companies and the federal government has stepped in between our doctors. Doctors and patients no longer have a one-on-one relationship. There's a threesome now, uninvited. You've got somebody uninvited in the examination room and making decisions that should be between you and your doctor.
That's right.
And that's a conversation for a whole other day. But with 788, people are very upset right now because they say, we voted for this, and now they're trying to screw with it.
And I want the message to the people to be the legislature is not the one who's trying to mess with it. The legislature, as a matter of fact, and by the way, both Democrats and Republicans, this is not a partisan issue. I don't know that any Republican's been quite as strong on it as I have. But, with my history passing the CBD oil bill, with the 0.3 THC and helping children, I've kind of been involved in this issue for a while. But we're saying, no, we're going to step in. We're going to talk with everybody. So one of the things with this group that we've talked about, this is the first time I've talked about this publicly. We are going to have Wednesday meetings open to the public. I mean, these meetings, and this is every Wednesday.
Transparency.
Absolutely, because when you have nothing to hide, goes back to what we said about integrity and doing things the right way. When you have nothing to hide, do things the right way. So, and we're going to try to move expeditiously. Now, there have been those that have called for just an immediate special session. I got to tell you, as floor leader, that's a really bad idea. An open-ended special session is a great way to get mischief, for lack of a better word. What I'm wanting to do is something different. I'm wanting this board to go to work. That the speaker's appointed, and I'll let any other member. I'll tell it right now, as a House chairman, if another House member wants to come and sit in. That's okay. Doesn't bother me. But I want this board to go to work, and I want them to be transparent about the bill that we come in and pass. So before you go into special session, instead of having this open-ended special session, what you have is you lay out to the people, hey, here's what we're going in to pass. We've talked to a lot of people. We believe this complies with 788, and I believe we're going to do that. And I have some ideas of what I want to accomplish. I've been open about those. I think whether you're for or against smoking of medical marijuana, the people voted for that. That's what's going to happen. They put a 12% THC limit. The people didn't vote for that. That's not in 788. That's not what we do. Why can't we just try doing what the people said? Let's try that. Let's do what they're supposed to do. That's what a democratic republic is about.
We don't want the government interfering. It's intrusive. It's just like, when you go in to see your doctor, there should not be a third party present.
That's right.
And the government or insurance companies, pharmaceuticals, all those people are, in fact, it's not just a threesome. You've got maybe 3 or 4 other people in the room, conglomeration. So, Leader Echols, as always, a pleasure to have you on. Congratulations on your appointment. Love the transparency and the open meetings. And we're going to continue this conversation. We have breaking news right here. You didn't hear this on any other media. You got it here first because the truth lives here. Leader Echols,
thank you, my friend.
See you soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
President Trump in Kansas City tonight, speaking to the 119th VFW National Convention. There are about 4,000 plus vets who are expected to attend. I think I need to turn. Is that my volume? Yes, I'm sorry, that was my iPad. See, this is what you do. This is live media right here. You got to love it. By the way, the president says that his dream opponent in 2020 is good old Uncle Joe. What about herpes Hillary? I don't think she's done yet. Come on. She has a hard time standing up, but, you know, hey. 3 times Hillary, 3 times a loser. That'd be good. Run in 2020. Please, run, Hillary, run. Anyway, the president made Joe Biden vice president, and so I guess everybody on the left side, they think, well, he was affiliated with Barack Obama, and I approve this message. I guess they assume that Uncle Joe, since we can't have Barry anymore, we'll just bring Uncle Joe in. And maybe Barry will be a frequent guest at the White House. So anyway, we'll keep you posted. 2020 is coming up faster than you think. I mean, I know we're not even through the runoffs in the primaries and the midterms, but people are already talking about 2020. It's pretty crazy. And if you think about it, 1 year from now, the left, they're going to be debating all over the place. So we're just a year away from it. We never get any relief from elections, seriously. So, and speaking of elections, I am pleased to have Chairman Daren Ward of the Oklahoma County GOP. He's in next with me. We're going to talk about Oklahoma County politics, state politics, and maybe do a little look into the crystal ball and see what's coming up in November and before. That's all coming up. Tod Tucker Live. The truth lives here. We're right back after this. Back. Daren Ward, Mr. Chairman.
What's up, buddy?
Oklahoma County
Mr.
GOP. Yeah, well, and I'm a precinct chairman, so we're both. Thank you for appointing me. I'm pretty excited to be a chairman myself. It kind of hit me because when you appointed me and I said I accept, and you said congratulations, Mr. Chairman, I was like, holy cow! I was just called Mr. Chairman. How cool is that?
Did the title go to your head?
No. Well, maybe a little.
Okay, good.
But I've already got politicians that live in my precinct that are telling me that my precinct is hard to knock. So I've already been contacted about issues in my precinct that I need to take care of.
Get after it, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to your world,
That's
right? Okay. Well, I'm going to be looking to you to help me, Mr. Chairman.
Well, for all of our other precinct chairmen and Republicans out there, we're going to have a county committee meeting next month. So stay tuned for that. So newly appointed precinct chairman such as yourself will be able to get a little bit of training, and we're going to get back out in the field and get back to good old grassroots politics.
I'm excited, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready for this runoff to be over.
Oh, man.
And I'm sure a lot of people involved in the runoff, they're ready for it to be over as well, because it's like you go through the grueling campaign, and now you've got the runoff, and it's 180 degrees outside. In fact, Damon Lane at KOCO5, he forecast a high of 116. which is probably a little excessive, but he has been the topic of conversation today. So, you know what's better? You understand that any kind of publicity is good publicity, right?
They say that. I'm not quite so sure about that.
Well, I mean, they're talking about Damon today, and I will say I got in my... What's that?
What did he do?
He said it was going to be 116 degrees today.
Oh, he got publicity off of that?
Yeah, because people are like, it's not going to be 100. It's going to be 116, maybe the heat index. In fact, I got in my car, and it's always hotter on your car thermometer than it is in your in reality. And I had lunch with friends today. It was 121 degrees. I'm like, it's like, this is, I hate summer.
You know that they take it at the airport. It's like 5 or 6 feet off the ground in the shade. That's where they take the temperature.
Right. So, I mean, the heat index right now has got to be terrible.
So get out there in the sun and feel like it.
So these men and women that are in a runoff right now, that are knocking doors and going out and campaigning, it's got to be grueling and miserable.
No, it's tough. It's tough.
So let's talk about the runoff coming up. Any crystal ball projections? Any predictions?
Well, I think there's going to be a whole different outcome that a lot of people aren't going to realize. The electorate's upset about all the issues that have come with 788. They're really looking for leadership in all aspects from the party to the Democrat Party to the Republican Party to the legislature to the governor's office. Mm-hmm. And it's coming down to who's going to be our better leader in every office. So.
Well, you and I were talking out here, and I think Leader Echols was with us as well. And I said people are angry, but they really don't know who they're angry with. They just know that they're angry.
Right.
But then we spoke with Leader Echols, and the economy is improving in Oklahoma by a bunch. And things are looking good, I think, in large part due to President Trump and his economic policies. But now we've got the teacher pay raise. State Question 788, that's going to be a national embarrassment because, once again, it makes us look like we don't know what we're doing. And every time...
Oh, I think plenty of people knew exactly what they were doing.
Well, but everybody... But the media is going to make it look like that we're just a bunch of okie dokies that don't know what we're doing. And the national news, they never say anything positive about us. In fact, Moto's going to get mad at me, but the only time we really get positive press is when OU's in a playoff. Or it has to do with football. Both football teams, because both of our teams, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, are basically the anchors of the Big 12.
Do they still have a team?
Who?
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they got some mullet that runs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the mullet guy.
Yeah, some mullet.
I'm just kidding, Gundy. I like you.
If you don't quit, I'll play the Gundy clip again, Tommy.
No, please don't. No, please don't. We already talked about the fact that Pistol Pete fires blanks. So,
no illegitimate kids out there for him.
No, I think he had the surgery, the big V, snip, snip, possibly.
Ouch.
So, football is something to look forward to. Now, let's also give me an idea of kind of what you're getting, the perception you're getting, because we're talking about people are angry, but is that why Todd Lamb? Is that why Todd Lamb lost? I mean, how much of that had to do with Governor Fallon, and how much of that had to do with Todd? I would say most of it had to do with the governor.
I agree. The Mary Fallon was the problem, mm-hmm. and the missteps that our administration has taken the last few years, and yes, the economy is improving, but we just came off these huge tax increases that were not really necessary now that
very unnecessary.
And I have told representatives this over and over since I got involved. The people of Oklahoma will give you more money if you need it. Show them that you need it. Mm-hmm. Go out and cut the fraud, waste, and abuse. Something everybody has.
Dr. Coburn talked about that issue yesterday.
Right.
He said we've got to get rid of the waste and abuse.
What was there? The $30 million missing. Well, here it's back, and now we don't have enough money for this. But one thing now that's tough in the metro area is people see all this money that's being spent on maps. So there's crazy sidewalks to nowhere, and there's these expensive statues and things going up around town. And it's hard to explain that to people when you're talking to them. When they're talking about, well, do we really need that? Well, no, but that's what MAPS was, and that's what we voted for. It exactly.
And it's transparent. And it has a sunset clause. So if you don't like the tax, you can always vote against it because it expires. It has an expiration.
But that money is set aside for
Exactly. It has nothing to do with coming from the state government or raising your taxes. You've already voted on that tax.
Right.
And I believe it was money well spent, and probably, well, not probably, it's the way taxes should be to begin with. Everything should be transparent. We should know where our money's going. And tax increases should have a sunset clause. And I think people need to have more of a role, an active role, in whether or not to have their taxes raised. Enough of the interference from the federal government and the state government telling us how much money we need to pay to support.
That's where Mr. Chairman and this chairman here need to do a better job of getting out there. And we're going to start swinging back at the outside interest coming in here with the OEA, the NEA, the outside lobbying groups. I mean,
I call them the education mafia.
That's not a bad.
Yeah. And while we're here, can we plug the fact that this is the only conservative platform now? We don't have any more local conservative talk. This is it. This is the place that we come to talk.
This is the spot.
This is the only place where we are speaking about state politics.
So you're going to hit the C spot?
Absolutely.
Big C.
Pistol Pete can't hit it. We might as well, right?
We'll be making the O face. Oklahoma, there we go.
Bummer.
Anyway, so Daren, we're going to, Mr. Chairman, we're going to have you on again, especially as we get closer to the runoff. But the one thing that I would say is, we need to get out. We need to vote. We've got to get the grassroots out. We've got to, you know, I don't care how mad you are. You've got to vote, and don't let the Democrat propaganda fool you.
Exactly.
If you don't like the way things are, then you can make a change. But it's not necessarily, you know, don't blame the sins of Mary Fallon on all conservatives. Not fair. So we'll pick up the conversation here in the very near future.
We got some good stuff for you next week.
That's awesome. Next week, Daren Ward, Oklahoma County GOP Chairman. I'm Tod Tucker. This is the Tod Tucker Show. The truth lives here. The truth lives with you and with me, and you're going to get it here. We'll see you back tomorrow for Friday.